Everybody wants to try it. Everybody has wondered what it's like to ride one. Everyone who is into choppers has at some point considered going to a jockey shift setup. So what's holding you back? Today, I'm going to show you how to ride a jockey shift motorcycle with no front brake. All the common situations you're wondering about. How to stop on a hill, how to deal with stop and go traffic, slow left turns. We are going to talk about all of it. By the end of this video, if you're not ready to rip that clutch lever off of your bike and give this a shot, then I have not done my job. I'm Grease, you're watching Grease's Garage, and I'm going to help you skip the struggle. So what are we going to talk about in today's video? We are going to talk about all the basics you need to know for riding with a foot clutch jockey shift setup. We're going to start with taking off, how you get going from a stop. Next, we're going to talk about stopping in neutral and stopping in gear. For all you guys out there wondering how you deal with stop and go traffic, stopping in gear is crucial. So we're going to get into all of that. Another common question I get is, Grease, how do I make a slow left turn if I can't put my foot down? I'm going to show you how to do full U-turns with a foot clutch setup, no front brake. Don't worry, it's much easier than you think. After that, we're going to talk about one of the other most common questions. How do I stop on a hill? And we're going to go over two parts of that. Stopping on an uphill, which is what everybody usually thinks about, and also some things to remember about stopping on a downhill. And then at the end of the video, I am going to debunk the worst, most annoying myth about the foot clutch jockey shift setup that I have ever heard. It is so prevalent, so popular, that it actually spawned the term suicide clutch and suicide shifter, which you will never hear me say outside of right there, because it is absolutely untrue. So be sure to stick around to the end of the video to hear that myth get obliterated. Then at the end of the video, if you're the kind of person who just enjoys watching some good old-fashioned jockey shift riding, I'll roll in a clip of me doing one of my favorite loops from that jockey shift angle so you can watch how it happens in real time. So let's start at the beginning, the takeoff. The way that the foot clutch jockey shift setup operates is just like a car. Your foot is working the clutch pedal, your hand is working the shifter. So press down on that clutch pedal, you shift it into first, which on my bike is backwards. It's going to be toward the camera. When you see my hand push toward the camera, that's me going into first, or if I'm riding, that's me going down. When I push away from the camera, that's me shifting up. So with the bike in neutral, shift into first gear, slowly start to work that foot up off the clutch pedal, and as you feel the bike lunge forward, give it some gas and you are off to the races in first gear. Once you're comfortable with the takeoff, the natural next step is going to be how to stop. Now, when you're brand new to riding a foot clutch setup, especially if you're doing it with no front brake, the easier way to stop is to stop in neutral. So let's start there. Here I am, left foot on the clutch, shift into neutral, both feet are free to go right down on the ground. Show you that again. Shift into first, into neutral, left foot comes off, both feet can go firmly on the ground. Right, put the clutch back down, shift back into first, and we're off. And then you can just come to these nice little turns and just slam those boards. Oh yeah. Then hit those other boards. Woo. Practice this multiple times. The takeoff and then finding neutral, coming to a stop. You want to do that over and over and over again to where it's second nature and you don't have to think about it. Once you feel comfortable stopping in neutral, you are ready to move on to the slightly more advanced version, which is stopping in gear. Now, while this video today is a very technical explanation of how to do this, once you've been doing this for a number of months, you will not have to think about this stuff at all. This will all be second nature. Don't let the fact that today's video is slightly technical make you think that every time you go riding, you're thinking about all these steps. This is just my way of framing it to you so that you know what to practice to get to that comfort level quicker. We're gonna do 3 stops in gear. Here's how we do it. Left foot on the clutch. We're in first right now. As we come to a stop, I'm gonna tilt the bars left and the bike falls right. Show you that again. Coming to a stop. Right before I stop, bars go left, bike goes right. All right, show you one last time here. Coming to a stop, left foot is on that pedal. Bars go left, bike goes right. Now, once you're more proficient with this, you won't need to tilt the bars, right? I've been doing this for 7 years. I don't have to tilt the bars. I know how the bike is gonna tilt, and I'm very familiar with it. I'll show you that again. Still in gear, right? No bar tilt, just come to a stop. My right foot's down, my left foot's up. Show you that one more time. Coming to a slow stop here, and we just keep the bars straight. Left foot stays up, right foot stays down. Once you've been riding it for a while, that'll become second nature. Let's say this was stop and go traffic, right? And there's a bunch of cars in front of me. I don't want to come out of gear. I just come to a stop, I go. I come to a stop, I go. I come to a stop, and I go. And I'm doing these aggressive stops to show you, even skidding a back wheel, right? Watch, I'll skid it again. Still, I don't have to put that left foot down. And this is what I'm telling you. It gets to be second nature, all right? Even in a panic situation, even locking up that rear wheel, I can still tilt the bike the right direction. I've just been doing it long enough, and you will be able to do that too. But in the beginning, when you're coming to that stop and this is all new to you and you're freaking out, remember, bars left, bike falls right. Start there, you'll work your way up to what I was showing you a second ago. Another super common question I get is, how do I make a slow left turn with a foot clutch setup if I can't put my left foot down? Even after years of riding, some riders never really master the art of the U-turn without putting a foot down. We get so dependent on being able to plant one of our feet that the idea of not being able to do it seems really weird. So I've come up with 2 different ways. One is the safe way to do it, and the other is the more confident way to do it. Next thing I want to show you guys is U-turns, all right? Here's the safe way to do it. I'm gonna find neutral. This is neutral right here. I'm gonna turn my head where I wanna go, and the bike is gonna follow. And then I shift back into first, and I'm off. Right? That way, if you mess it up, you can still put that foot down. Let me show you that one more time. Here's neutral. Dragging the brake a little bit, turn my head. Bike follows the head. Shift into first, and we're off. All right? Now, the more confident way to do this, which I do sometimes, but not every time, is to leave the bike in gear and trust that you have this dialed in. All right? See, I drag the board, and we're off. I never come out of gear. You can't put your foot down if you stay in gear, so you have to trust yourself. And the way to do this is to turn your head. The nice thing about you guys watching this on a GoPro is that you're watching where my head is going. If I kept my head straight and tried to make that turn, I'd run off the road. I turn my head all the way, and the bike follows my head. It feels very unnatural in the beginning. You just want to look forward. You feel like you're going to crash if you turn your head, but it's the only way to do it. If you don't want to come out of gear, you're going to have to turn your head. And you make a tight U-turn, just like that. The next order of business is starting from a stop on an incline. Now, before we actually get into the technique, I just need to say a quick word about setting up your clutch. I did a whole video, which you can find in this card right here, about dialing in your foot clutch setup so that it is smooth and repeatable, so that you know exactly where that clutch engagement zone starts, where it ends, and when you step on that pedal, you know what to expect. It is very important when you're riding a foot clutch setup, especially with no front brake, that you know how your clutch behaves and that you can predict what it's going to do and where it's going to do it. So watch that video if you haven't, because it'll help you make sure that your setup is solid. So let's assume you've done that, your setup is solid, you want to learn how to start on a hill. All right, guys, here we're going to show you how to stop on a hill. The GoPro is not super great at picking up the steepness of a hill, but hopefully you can see what we're working with here. It's a pretty steep incline, all right? To do this, you're gonna have to go into neutral. So here's me finding neutral, right? I come to a stop, my right foot is on the brake pedal, the bike is leaned to the left. When I wanna take off, I'm gonna shift my weight onto my right side, put my right foot down, and I'm gonna shift into first gear. It looks like this. And we're off. Right? Let's show you that again. We're back into neutral. It happens really quick, and it has to happen really quick. So here we are. Again, we're leaning to the left. What I'm going to do is lean to the right. I'm going to put my right foot down, and I'm going to shift into first. Really quick. One more time, all right? Rule of threes. So I'm leaning to the left. The bike is leaning this way. I'm going to lean over to the right, put my right foot down, and I'm going to put my left foot on the clutch, shift into first. Here we go. And we're off. We finally come to my favorite part of the video, where we can finally dispel the most ridiculous myth in the history of foot clutch motorcycles. People who have never ridden a foot clutch in their lives will tell you, I don't ride a foot clutch because if you lean the wrong way at the light and your foot slips off that clutch, you're going to go flying out into traffic and get killed. Back in the day when they had rocker clutches that would actually mechanically hold the clutch engaged while you were at a stop and you'd put both feet down, those mechanisms would sometimes loosen up and they would re-engage the clutch while you were sitting there. This is where the term suicide clutch, suicide shifter came from. The problem with not only saying it about the rocker clutch, but also saying it about the jockey shift setup, is that neither of these things are true at all. And if you don't believe me, watch this clip right here. Here's what happens if you leaned the wrong way and your foot slips off of that clutch pedal. Here it is from another angle. I'm sitting here with the bike in first gear, and my foot is going to slip off the clutch pedal. Let's see how far I go. But maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, Grease, that's just your bike. So do me a favor, test it with your bike, even with your hand clutch setup. Sit there with the bike in first, dump the clutch, and see how far you go. My guess is you did not make it more than 1 foot forward because the bike stalls out basically in place. You do not go shooting out into traffic. You do not fly into an intersection and get T-boned. Where this myth came from, I cannot even begin to tell you, but I am very excited to remind everybody watching this that anytime you hear that from someone, that person has no idea what they're talking about. So hopefully, after this public service announcement, we can all disregard this term of suicide clutch and suicide shifter so that future generations don't have to deal with this silly myth getting pushed on everybody who thinks about running a jockey shift setup. For the remainder of this video, for those of you who enjoy watching the foot clutch setup in action, I'm going to roll in a couple clips of some of my favorite loops around town from that clutch angle so that you can see what it looks like to ride along with me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will catch you guys next week. Take you guys for one of my favorite loops, just to show you how it goes with this foot clutch jockey shift setup. First gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, back down to third for the turn. Really getting after it. Down to second, hairpin turn. Drag aboard. Gotta lay her down, baby. Woo! Back up to third. Round the bend. Another stiff turn. Down to second. Another big bend here. We stay in second. Another hairpin. We're going to go down. Laying the board down again. We come around the bend, touch board, and now we're coming up to a stop. Back down into second. Back down into first. We'll come to a stop in neutral. And again, we can put both feet flat on the ground. All right? You can ride very aggressively with this setup if you choose. Don't let anybody tell you you can't.